Picture this. You've got the vast, sunlit expanse of the global oceans. It is an absolutely epic stage, right? Crisscrossed every single day by these massive steel leviathans that are literally driving international trade. But out there, in international waters, where the horizon just stretches infinitely in every direction, who is actually in charge? Who writes the script that these floating behemoths have to follow? Well, the rules governing this colossal global network are just as massive as the ships themselves. Today, we're diving into a brand new, truly monumental piece of legislation that completely redefines how one of the world's biggest rising powers commands its presence on the cinematic global stage.
Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are looking at something that is essentially world-building, the Merchant Shipping Act 2025. Now, this isn't just some dry list of maritime rules. Not at all. It's a sweeping reimagining of India's maritime law. If the global shipping industry is a blockbuster movie, this act is India stepping right up to the director's chair to completely rewrite its own role. We're going to break down exactly what this legislation does, who it applies to, and the really fascinating legal plot twists woven right into the text. So let's jump straight into a new maritime era, aligning with global treaties. Okay, what is the actual foundation of this act? The text lays out 4 core pillars. First, it exists to consolidate and amend existing shipping laws, basically taking all those old fragmented rules and replacing them with a sleek, unified framework. Second, it ensures absolute compliance with international maritime treaties and instruments that India is a party to. Third, it's designed to rapidly develop Indian shipping. And finally, it ensures the efficient maintenance of the Indian mercantile marine. You can kind of think of this as laying the groundwork for a highly efficient, globally synchronized fleet.
But I want to pause on this exact phrase, right from the preamble of the act, in a manner best suited to serve the national interest. It's such a crucial detail. It shows us this legislation isn't just about making sure ships don't bump into each other in the night. This is about grand national strategy. It's a calculated, deliberate move to leverage the high seas to boost India's economic and strategic standing on the world stage. We're talking high-stakes geopolitics, right on the water. Let's move on to our cast of characters. Who follows the rules? The protagonists and the guests. Section 2 brilliantly lays out the jurisdiction here for our main protagonists, meaning vessels registered in India or those required by this act to be registered. The rules apply anywhere they go. It doesn't matter if they are docked in Mumbai or sailing through the freezing waters of the North Atlantic. Indian law travels with them. It's an absolute global umbrella. But for other vessels, our visiting cast, so to speak, the rules only apply while they are physically within India or its coastal waters. The second they cross that maritime boundary back into international waters, that specific jurisdiction just drops away. But wait, every good story needs a twist, right? Let's look at the tonnage exceptions, the plot twist. Right there in Section 2, Subsection 3, the legislation throws a massive curveball. It explicitly states that, subject to specific provisions, the Act shall not apply to Indian-controlled tonnage vessels. This is a huge exception written directly into the code. It creates this fascinating legal carve-out, a really carefully designed loophole that exempts a very specific class of ships from this sweeping new regulatory framework. So, what exactly is an Indian-controlled tonnage vessel? Well, the Act defines it as an Indian vessel owned by a specified Indian person. But, and here is the absolute kicker, it's registered in a country other than India. The ultimate control and the ownership reside in India, but the flag flying on the back of the ship belongs to a foreign port. So, owned here, registered there. How does a ship actually secure this unique exempt status? The Act gives us a very precise 3-step checklist. Step 1, the vessel has to be owned by a specified Indian person, which is defined a bit later in Section 15. Step 2, it has to be registered in another country entirely. And Step 3, which is a really critical detail, it absolutely cannot be a fishing vessel or a sailing vessel. Those specific types of boats are completely excluded from this loophole. But if a massive cargo freighter hits all 3 of those marks, it steps outside the primary bounds of the Merchant Shipping Act, giving a whole new layer of strategic flexibility for Indian ship owners operating globally. And that brings us to the logistics, ruling the high seas, the dates and details. The number 24. It isn't just a random digit, it's the official designation. This is formally Act Number 24 of 2025, passed by Parliament on the 18th of August, 2025. That date marks the exact moment this massive legal undertaking transitioned from just a blueprint into the official law of the land. But how does it actually roll out in the real world? Well, Section 1, Subsection 2 notes that the Act comes into force on dates appointed by the central government via the official gazette. So the crucial takeaway here is that they don't have to flip a giant switch on everything all at once. The government has given itself the power to deploy this highly strategically. They can appoint different dates for different provisions to take effect. It's a perfectly staged, scene-by-scene implementation. That prevents a massive shock to the industry while they steadily assert this new era of maritime control. So, we've covered the ambitious scope, the global jurisdiction, and the really fascinating legal plot twists of the Merchant Shipping Act 2025. It shows exactly how a nation can meticulously orchestrate its presence on the water. I want to leave you with this. Next time you look out at the horizon or you see one of those massive cargo ships cutting through the waves, ask yourself, whose rules is it really following right now? Where is it owned? Where is it registered? And what invisible legal tethers are pulling it across the globe? Keep exploring, keep questioning, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.